Hello, this is Craig Mertens, General Manager at GraphicsFlow. Welcome to the webcast today. Happy New Year's, Feliz Años to all of you. We're gonna put you to work today. Beginning of the year, it's a wonderful time to do your New Year's resolutions, and that doesn't your business doesn't get exempted from that either. And I don't know, something kind of interesting about the calendar year starting over. It seems very fresh, and everyone's kind of getting off to a fresh start. And so part of that process of getting off to a fresh start, in my opinion, is planning. I know the P word, planning. And planning is really, really super important. And I got that burrowed into my head from a young age. It was interesting. I was a broadcasting major in college, and in my television directing class, it was very famous. Our professor was kind of a famously abrasive kind of a. I love the guy to death, but he was a piece of work, and he was really hard on us. And one of the things that we did in our television directing final, we had to direct a commercial. And when you're directing a commercial, if you're not prepared, you're gonna fall pretty flat. And the first thing you have to do is say roll VTR, because if they don't roll the tape, nothing gets recorded. And if nothing gets recorded, guess what? You get an F in the class. And there was no exceptions to that. And so part of the planning process, all of us would map out everything, and then in big letters, we would write roll VTR, and before you would actually go on to, walk into the control room to direct your commercial, the person that was behind you would say, Craig, remember, roll VTR. That's planning. And he had an expression that he would share with us, which was proper pre-production planning would prevent poor performance. There's another word in there, but you guys have probably heard a variation on that. And it's so true. I mean, if you plan, you can ensure that you have better results, and you can take a lot of the unknowns out of the equation. And I don't like surprises. I don't think you guys like surprises either. So that's also true of your business. And one of the unfortunate things that happens in business today is we just get so busy. It's just hard sometimes to get off the proverbial hamster wheel. And I talk to clients all the time. I hear this all the time. Says, I'm just too busy to get my act together. It kills me. Because if you think about it, if you take a little bit of time to, quote, get your act together, and you put together a plan and you do planning, that you get that time back many, many times over. And the one thing you can never get back, once time is gone, it's gone. So you have to be able to budget your activities to do the following things. Productive activities that bring a profit to your business. You've heard me say this before. The compass points north, and north is profitability. And your responsibility as a business owner or an employee is to ensure that the company makes a profit. Now, there's other things going on too, and people self-actualization, and people feeling good about their jobs and showing off their creativity. I love all that stuff too. I like to show off too, but at the end of the day, you got to be profitable. If you're not profitable, you're not going to stay in business. And one of the things that you guys will see in the business climate today, that's different than it was a year ago, there's a lot fewer competitors in the marketplace today. And I talked to a client of mine in Fresno, California. He said there's over 75 apparel decorators within a 50-mile radius of his business that are out of business, that aren't in business. So if you are still here and you are still in business, the business climate is great because there's less competition. Now, you also have the challenges of supply chain shortages, and that is a very real problem right now. But again, planning, right? If you're doing planning and there's supply chain shortages, that you can go to your customers and say, hey, listen, I know you have this event coming up in a month. If we wait to the last minute, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to meet your deadline, because I need to have at least 3 weeks to get all the blanks rounded up because there's a supply chain shortage. And planning, it all comes down to planning. And so I am a huge, monstrous fan of putting things in writing. I know, in writing, it's like homework. You get a little bit of stress from when you were in school, and that resistance to actually putting pen to paper. But I can promise you, it's kind of cathartic. It feels good. And if you're one of those people that has all that free floating anxiety, when it goes something like this, your brain goes, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do this, I need to do that, I didn't do this, so this is gonna, right? It's this magical thing that happens when you get that stuff onto paper. It takes away the power and the uncertainty. And then you can put together a plan to kind of face those realities and then attack it front on. And that's part of running a business. And it's not an easy, it sounds like a simple thing to do, but it's not. It takes some real commitment. And So one of the things that I'm going to ask you guys to do in the class today is I'm going to ask you guys to commit yourself to a planning process. And it looks like somebody's here to deliver something. So you're hearing the door, but I don't hear a dog barking, so that means my wife's on a walk with the dog, so that's good. So let's talk about the planning part. And it's been my experience that um, people if they can really have the capacity to be honest with themselves, can really do a pretty decent self-evaluation, but you have to kind of wave that open-mindedness magic wand and say, I just need to really be open-minded about my business. Where am I doing well? Where could I improve? Just kind of taking a look at the whole, big picture. And it takes a little bit of courage to do that because, it's a little scary. You're not doing some things right. I don't know, in the last 3 days, I've heard I have a crappy website, and that's pretty much the words I hear. Half a dozen times. Here it goes. Wow. I said, well, what's your website? Usually I'm setting up their art portal and I go, what's your website? Oh, I've got a crappy website. There's two of you on this class right now who've said that. Um, so that's okay. It's okay to have a crappy website, but what's not okay is to not take an honest evaluation of ourselves and commit to a plan to change that. Because you know what, having a website in today's business climate is pretty darn important. So let's kind of get into it a little bit, and I'll go through the process. And by the way, we practice what we preach. We take it to a much higher level than we're going to do in a one-page business plan in the class here. We have meeting after meeting after meeting, and slide decks and strategic planning and budgeting, and much more complex than we're doing here today. But what we're going to do here today is a one-page business plan, simple one-page business plan. I'm going to kind of show you the outline, and then I'm going to go through kind of how I would do a business plan if I had an apparel decoration business, which we did that for years, so I got a lot of experience in that area. And you guys are more than welcome to lift any of the information from my business plan and put it to yours. And if you just wanted to write your name on it and do a find and replace, I'm cool with that because it's a really good business plan. Okay, so all right, so let's go ahead and stop the recording of my talking head and let's get right into it. Okay, so let's stop the talking head, and now you should just see the screen. So this is a customer of mine's website, and it's kind of neat with her website. She didn't like her website. I said, you actually have a pretty good website, because one of the things that this is actually a Sage website with the Sage template right here, but I think it looks pretty sharp. And you can, if you want to look for blank products, you can do that. But the one thing that we did, and here's all the different things that she offers, but we added her art portal to her website, and there you go. So she's got an art portal. So her customers, she just made it super easy for her customers to look for graphics. Really cool. So I thought I would kind of show you that real quick, but that's going to be part of what we're going to talk about in the classes, our web strategy. And so what I put together, it's just these are kind of the talking points that I like to talk about when we're doing a one-page business plan. And I've been doing this for years. And every client, every one of you should have a mission statement. It doesn't have to be this long, drawn-out plan, but you should have a mission statement. Why are you in business? What are you seeking to accomplish by having your business? Company vision. Where do you want to be? Not where you're at. If you put down where you're at, you're probably going to fall short. But where do you want to be? Target markets. You will hear me say this over and over again. Do more of the things that make your company money and do fewer of the things that don't. And sometimes I'll talk to clients and they have very specific market niches. Talk to a customer today. His market niche, they do a lot of football uniforms that are like sublimated, definitely not the average typical football uniform, but believe it or not, they do these for fantasy football teams. And so people that do fantasy football, they do like little uniforms that they wear to their little fantasy football get-togethers. I didn't know that. Every person's got a different one, and sometimes they have teams, and that's a really neat little niche that he does. But defining your target markets is critically important, because you want to go after markets that are A, realistic, but are B, that are profitable to you. And sometimes the target market that you go after might not be the most profitable one, but it's something that you have an interest in. Maybe you coach a specific sport, or you're involved in a niche. We have clients that are in amazing niches. We have clients that are in exotic pet niches and go to pet shows and sell snakes and all kinds of interesting things. But defining who your target market is, and if you give me the answer, it's like anybody that'll write a check. I'm like, okay, that's great, but we need to narrow that down a little bit. Okay, so who is your target market? We're going to get into very specific details on that. Let's be honest about our competition. Who are our real direct competitors, the people that are taking money out of our pocket? And what are we going to do to take money out of their pocket? What are their strengths? Where are they vulnerable? And what can we do different to seek more market share? That's a very, very important thing. Competitive advantage. It's time to pat ourselves on the back. What are we doing well? What are we not doing well? What my competitive advantage could be something like, hey, I have a great retail location and I'm really convenient, and people just roll into my store because I'm just in this awesome part of downtown. That's great, but we're living in COVID now. And so not every person is going to be as comfortable rolling into your store as they were 2 years ago. And I had a rather, it was a kind of it was a phone call from a client, I believe it was Monday. And she called me, I was just out of the blue, and she goes, "You're not gonna like me very much." And I'm like, "What is it?" She goes, "Looks like I'm getting out of the business." I'm like, "Oh." And this is somebody I worked with for a long time, and I just asked her, and she goes, we don't have anybody coming in the store. Nobody comes in anymore. We got no foot traffic, and we just don't have enough people coming in the store to sustain the business anymore. And I was like, "What are you doing to go out and get business?" Which is, well, we have a retail store. They come to us, and I go, I was just like kind of flabbergasted. And I gave her, I think I was pretty diplomatic about it, but I kind of gave her some ideas of things that, she could do in terms of social media. Well, I don't do social media. Well, why not? I don't believe in it. Okay, so you don't believe in social media, but that's how people find you. I talked to her about getting listed on Google. It was basically just kind of trying to say, hey, you don't necessarily have to throw in the towel. But at the end of, went through a few things, and she just shut me down. She said, Craig, I'm just too old to change. I'm just gonna get out. It's just easier for me to get out. And you know what? I'm not gonna argue with that. If that's where she's at in her life, and she has the financial means to sail off into the sunset. Fine. I can't fix that. But that's just so contrary to the way I look at things. I'm a hyper competitive person. I can tell you, my dad our family, we've been season ticket holders for the Green Bay Packers. I know. But since the 50s, my dad had, my grandfather had 6 season tickets. My dad was a huge Vince Lombardi Packers fan, went to St. Norbert's University in Green Bay during the glory days of the Packers, got hitchhiked home from the bar with um, Paul Hornung and other famous Packer players, Willie McGee, and but my dad collected these Lombardi sayings. And if you go in, and I know it's a little cheesy, but if you go in and you look at Vince Lombardi quotes, you'll see there is a lot of similarities about the struggle of getting knocked down and getting back up again. And that was something that I learned. Here, the price of success is hard work, dedication to the job at hand, and determination to whether we win or lose, we have applied the best of ourselves to the task at hand. The difference between a successful person and others is not a lack of strength, not a lack of knowledge, but a lack of will. Obviously, winning isn't everything. It's the only thing is the harder you work, the harder it is to surrender. It's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get up. That's my all-time favorite Vince Lombardi quote, and it's really, really true. We are living in some very challenging economic times. We have, the challenges of the supply chain shortage, where you can't get blanks. You have a big order and you're super excited about it. Client that's on this webcast had a 5,000 piece order that he had canceled because he couldn't get the polo shirts to fulfill the order, and that hurts. You have staffing, being able to hire competent people that stick around. These are all of the challenges that we're facing. But if we don't put together a plan to address those challenges, then we can't overcome them. And so as you go through this process, it's going to be a little painful, because you're going to have to rip the Band-Aid off a little bit and take an honest look at yourself, and seeing where your competitive advantages are. I think what my favorite word in the English language is hope. That's my favorite word, because if you don't have hope, you're not heading anywhere. And so you can see where you have areas for improvement. And here's the neat part. Not all those areas require money. They just require time. And we're going to talk about some very specific things. Marketing goals. So your marketing goals, we're not asking you to be a big, super high-powered marketing firm. We have those high-powered marketing people that work within our organization. They're amazing. They run ad agencies. They're incredible wealth of knowledge. We had KJ was on one of our classes recently. Absolutely wonderful. You guys can go back and go to the Decorator Academy archive on YouTube, and you're welcome to watch the wonderful class he did on social media. But you guys all have the capability of having effective social media campaigns, effective email, and effective e-commerce. And in today's day and age, you know what it's all about? It's 100% about making it easy for your customers to purchase from you. That's what it is. So that client that was kind of getting out of it, she didn't make it real easy for people to buy from her, because she didn't have any kind of web presence. She didn't have social media. She relied on 100% on foot traffic or the phone ringing. There are things that are outside your control that you can do nothing about. You know, and there are things that are very much within your control that you can do something about. And it's just having, that kind of clarity and hopefully people in your life that can help you kind of guide through that. I would love to be that person for all of you, but I can't. I have people in my life that have helped guide me through all these kind of challenging times and business challenges, met people that have mentored me. But the thing is being willing to ask for help and being willing to be open to help, which means sometimes taking a hard look at yourself, and it doesn't feel great. If any of you guys have ever worked through a professional consulting process, it's painful. Man, they just, they dig out, they dig at you every single weakness within your organization, and it's painful to watch. But on the other side of when you get the consulting report and what their recommendations are, it's like, wow, this is going to turn my business around. And you know what? That's kind of what we're doing here a little bit. So let's kind of break this down into some specifics and a business plan that I put together for Craig's Creations, which is my little side hustle business. I've got a little vinyl cutter action these days. Here, we'll do it this way. And I've got my little vinyl cutter these days. I haven't really sparked it up yet. I need to get a heat press, but yeah, I wanted to stay in the game a little bit, and so I bought a vinyl cutter. GCC was nice enough to give me a good deal on a vinyl cutter. And I want to do just some small jobs for my soccer friends in the supporters clubs, which I'm involved in. And so I put together this little kind of one-page business plan for Craig's Creations, and you can kind of see where I'm at with this. Am I going to follow through this and turn this into a business? No, probably not, but I think it was a pretty good exercise, and I think that you guys can all benefit from this. So this is my one-page business plan, and that one-page business plan is, guess what? It's in your handouts. So it is in your handouts. So if you go to handouts and you go to meeting portal there, you can download it. If you are watching the recording and you want to have a copy of this, I am an email away. So all you have to do is email me at Craig, C-R-A-I-G, at GraphicsFlow.com. GraphicsFlow.com. I almost said Digital Art Solution. Craig at GraphicsFlow.com. Either one would come to me. So what is my vision or my company mission? To inspire creativity by creating decorated apparel and personalized products that serves the needs of our community. So, I want to be a creative force. I don't want to be a logos on stuff person. You've heard me talk about that, but I want to be a creative force in my community. So I want to produce work on decorated product and personalized products that people are proud to wear, that they're excited about wearing, that when they put it on, they feel a little self-esteem boost. And really, ultimately, that's what I want to accomplish. My company vision, where we want to be, to inform and inspire people within using the messaging and medium of decorated apparel and personalized products, utilizing the power of personalization to create unique products that represent current trends and spread awareness within our community. So think about it like this. If you are involved in youth sports would be a good example. That was something I was involved in as a kid growing up. If you're involved in youth sports, and I can tell you right now, I own pretty much every cross country and track t-shirt I ever had in college and in high school. I still own all those. I also own probably most of my concert shirts. there is a memory that's associated with those events. That memory is ingrained in me in the context of a t-shirt that I collected. I look at those t-shirts, now my kids wear them, but I look at those t-shirts and there's a memory there. And the reason that I kept some of those t-shirts was A, it was a memory, and B, it was just cool, and now all that old stuff looks cool, even cooler because it's retro again, right? So, being able to create an emotional connection between a wearable product or a personalized item is such a critically important part of what we're doing. We don't want to just be logos on stuff. You guys have heard me say that over and over and over again, and I'll just, without being too soapboxy here, I'm just going to say it in the most concise way that I can. If you're doing logos on stuff, ain't nobody need you. Nobody needs you. Nobody needs you to do that. They can go online, they can go to 4Imprints, they can go all these custom make, they can go all these other websites, and there's no reason for you to be for your customer to be dependent upon you, because there's nothing creative that's involved in that. It's our logo. They can upload it to one of these big websites. That company has people that will clean that logo up, make it production ready, and they will put it on anything that you want. But on the other hand, if you can position yourself to be a creative resource to your customers where they're leaning on you for ideas so that their swag or their merch looks cool, that's where you want to be. That's where you want to position yourself in the market. So to inform and inspire people within, using the messaging and medium of decorated apparel and personalized products, utilizing the power of personalization to create unique products that represent current trends and spread awareness within our community. Ultimately, what you want to do is you want to create products where people go, where did you get that? Oh my gosh, that is so cool. Where did you get that? Well, Craig did it for me. Taylor did it for me. Amy did it for me. Irv did that for me. That's what you want to do. And some of you have smiles on your face right now. Poonam, you probably have a smile on your face because you've experienced that. You know what that's like when you create something that's really neat, and maybe you're wearing your own merch around town and somebody says, where did you get that? That's ultimately what you want to do. In terms of target markets, areas that I identified, which are some pretty rich areas within the decorated apparel marketplace. Obviously, schools, teams, and sports as an important one. Do I want to go after the official channels? The quote bid work for uniform? No, I'm not interested in that. But what I am interested in is the peripheral activities around the school. I'm interested in elementary education, which oftentimes gets ignored. I'm interested in spirit wear and booster clubs because I don't have to go through the official channels to do that. And also schools, teams, and sports in the decorated apparel world, that's the biggest market segment. Local small businesses. Okay, so any business that you walk into within your community, and I've asked you guys to do this in the past, but I'll give you this homework assignment. If you're physically working in an office and you have to commute from your home to office, next time you commute, just tally the number of businesses that you drive, small businesses, not national change, we're not talking Chili's, we're talking the local donut shop here. I want you to get a count of how many businesses that you passed on your way to work, and you'd be shocked at how many that is. Now, bear in mind, that's competitive. But here's the thing, if you go into a small local business or you do an email campaign or even drop a sample off and you say, hey, listen, we're a local business, we're a full service apparel decorator, we bring ideas to life. I noticed that you guys have some merchandise in here. We have this amazing program where we're develop a whole lifestyle branding program for you guys. And you're a donut shop, and we'll do some really cool kind of donut related designs that kind of tie into retail fashion trends. And I guarantee you that your merch sales will go up. And by the way, you don't actually have to place a stocking order because we can set up a web store, and we'll set up e-commerce for you, and you can send your customers with a QR code to the store, and they can just buy merch. And we will have a few samples sitting in the store, but they can just buy it off your store, and we'll just drop ship it right to them. And you don't have to pay us any money. And in fact, what we're going to do is just give you a revenue share, and you don't have to lift a finger. All you have to do is promote it through your social media, maybe an email campaign. It's going to be the net of your involvement, and you're going to get mailbox money once a month because you're just going to get a check. Who's going to say no to that? Right? Because a lot of these businesses, what they're accustomed to doing? They're accustomed to having to place these big stocking orders. And, people don't want to have their cash tied up in that. They don't want to have the wrong sizes, wrong colors. This didn't sell because the graphics bad. If you set up a web store and you do print on demand, then you bypassed all of that. So small local business, dance, cheer, and fitness. That is one of the richest target markets in all of decorated apparel. It's also very competitive. And when you get into that area, you are talking about bling and rhinestones and glitter vinyl and all that stuff. You can do a whole business with a vinyl cutter and a heat press in that world, but that's definitely an area that I would be involved in because I know that market really well and I like designing that feminine type of work. I'm good at it and I've got a kind of an eye for it. And frankly, from a design point of view, it's one of my favorite things to design. It's, simple, clean artwork, lots of cool fonts and stars and good imagery and, you know, one, two, three color, maybe some stones, maybe some glitter. Faith-based community. How many churches are within your community? My parents grew up in a town in Wisconsin that had 450 people and they had 7 churches. They had 9 taverns, 2 of them which were owned by relatives of mine. So, so you got the double dip. You can do the tavern business there, and then you can also do the churches. The churches have so many activities going on, and in our community in Scottsdale, we have some big old mega churches to the point where they actually have campuses. And bear in mind, it's competitive, and they get pretty well inundated with people that are trying to do business with them. But it is a very rich target market for decorated apparel. And here's the thing, on the graphics side of that business is 100% graphics driven. It's not driven based on it's not driven based on it's not price driven business. It's graphics driven. And if you want to see a really good example of a company that does a great job in that market, is a company called Sunday Cool. And their whole business is targeted at the church group. And they have a catalog and they have all kinds of designs and they come out with new graphics all the time. So they have all these templates and things that they do that are specific to particular marketplaces. Look, they even have a little live chat on here. How cool is that? Isn't that cool? These guys do a great job. These are not praying hands and crosses. This is very sophisticated artwork. So, where do you get artwork that's at that level? That's a good question. Where would you go get artwork that's at that level? Here, what you would probably do is you'd probably go to your GraphicsFlow account, possibly, or if you have the graphics builder collections, you probably go over there. And guess what? You have a whole catalog of nothing but artwork like that. And that artwork you can get in front of your customers and you can compete at that really high level because you know what we do? We do artwork at that same level as Sunday Cool. Now this is fire and police and EMT designs. Let's see here. This one, the one I want is it 18? Might be 16. I think it's 16. Yeah, it's 16 there's Christmas designs. Yeah, it's 16 that has all the religious type faith-based artwork. So this is a good example of, look familiar? Same kind of idea of that trendy retail graphics around faith-based themes. So you can't get into that marketplace unless you have artwork that enables you to compete at that level of a Sunday Cool. And guess what? Those of you that own these graphics builders and those of you that have a GraphicsFlow Elite or a Pro account have access to all of this artwork. It's in your account. You can just download it at will. And you can use this for other things as well, but artwork is what's delivering you into that particular demographic. And also in the same kind of general, kind of idea of a niche market, first responder artwork and military artwork is also a similar concept to that. I don't have any connections in that area, so that's not something I would do, but I have a lot of connections in this area. So it would be easier for me to do, but I would certainly encourage you guys on the first responder and military side of things, especially if you live near a base. Okay, so let's come back to our plan. Event marketing. There are events going on constantly. There are 10Ks, there are fundraisers, there's always something going on. And joining the Chamber of Commerce, so you're tuned in to what's happening in your community, is generally a really good idea. And also, there's a thing called the internet. You can always go and do a search for the different events and plan for next year. They have a company they're working with right now because the event's next week. but 12 months from now, they're on your schedule and you're already talking to them after their event completes this year about, hey, listen, we have this whole custom merchandising program. Let's take a look at let's take a look at the different graphics and things that we could do to develop for your event. We're full service. We can handle the whole thing for you. And then fundraising. And we do whole classes on fundraising. So all I did is just targeted some realistic market niches. I chose my top 6 ones that I would definitely be going after immediately. Yeah, I have some peripheral ones that I'd probably look at. But a big focus of what I would do would be around the schools, teams, and sports and small local businesses. That would be a big part of what I would do. So, who are your competitors? What are their strengths and weaknesses, right? So you're going to have the small local decorating companies, people that are like yourselves. That might even be the local sporting goods store. In my experience, and this has just been my experience, brick and mortar sporting goods stores typically tend to be kind of archaic in their thinking and not real competitive on the graphics side. But there is kind of a quote good old boy network where all the coaches know everybody, and the guys that are their and men and women that are their sales reps are ingrained with the schools. And but they're pretty easy to go and pluck if you have the local sporting goods store in your community, and going after their business, generally speaking, isn't that hard if you have good graphics and you're tenacious, and especially if you gobble people up with by hosting stores with them. So, don't be intimidated because a business has been there for, and that might be you, because business has been there for 80 years. A lot of those companies tend to be vulnerable. Large online resellers are trickier. You've got the Custom Inks of the world, and you have BSN. If you don't know who BSN is, it's a large conglomerate they're a sporting goods manufacturer. And what they do is they go and they have a massive rep force, and they hire local decorators to do contract printing for them. And a big thing that they do is they buy the book of business from smaller sporting goods companies, and they set them up as kind of like a regional distributor in a local print house. And it's kind of an interesting business, but they are very aggressive. And BSN will go in and literally buy the business at a local high school by giving them, a revenue share or donating products. They own a patent on the yardage down and distance markers for football. They actually own the patent on that. So all those are from BSN. So, if you got the BSNs in the world, are you going to be able to effectively compete with the BSN or a Sunday Cool or a Cafe Press or Gear Republic, one of these big companies? No, we're not asking you to do that. These are big online resellers. They have sophisticated online decorating capabilities with, online designers and all this. But you know what? The one thing that they oftentimes don't have is personal connectivity to their clients. So they're not generally relationship building. They're just a website where people buy, and they're not always going to be, building relationships. So there is definitely an opportunity. And I talked to a client. It was interesting. She lives in the Midwest, and her big competitor sold out to BSN, and she said it was the best thing that ever happened to her, because her customers in that space within her community were used to working with the local vendors, and talking to people, and going in and actually sitting down and looking at different uniforms and things. And BSN was like, hey, listen, go to my website and you can go to our online uniform designer, right? And her coaches didn't want to do that. And so all this business just landed on her lap. She says, the greatest thing ever is having them come into my community. So I thought that was interesting. Home-based businesses, are you going to compete with an individual that purchased a Cricut vinyl cutter and a Silhouette and has got a $300 Chinese heat press? Maybe they didn't even spend that much money. Are you going to be able to compete with them when they're basically charging, at cost for their products? No. But what you are going to do is you're going to out-graphic them, because you're going to have merch that looks cooler than they have. And they're always going to get their business. But in a lot of those times, those people, migrate into more commercial businesses. Some of you might have migrated from that. But don't get all bent out of shape because you've got an army of people out there with Cricuts competing in the marketplace. They are very easy to compete against, because all you need is better graphics and a more sophisticated marketing capability. And you got to get your social media beefed up, but you can certainly compete with that. So what would be my competitive advantages? What I would, if my wish list of competitive advantages. I'm good at graphics, so having a sophisticated graphics capability for producing custom artwork. You guys have access to that same thing because you have, access to your artwork from GraphicsFlow. You have access. Many of you have our Smart Designer add-on software for Corel. Some of you are graphic designers. So a differentiation point that is hugely important to me is I'm going to out graphic people, and there's also a beauty to simplicity. Graphics don't always have to be complex. There's a style of graphics, if you want to see that, which is very simple and very clean, but that's based on good, clean clip art and great fonts and simple composition that is very popular in the marketplace. And yes, could you do these yourself? Yes, you could, but these are ideas that are already done. And this is a presentation tool in the form of a PDF catalog that allows your customers to look through that clean, streamlined artwork. This is the latest, the newest graphics builder. This is number 20. Here's that deep retro look. So I'm going to out graphics people. And am I going to do stuff from purely from scratch, custom artwork? Heck no. I'm going to avoid that like the plague. I know it's a bad choice of words these days, but I'm going to avoid that at all costs because I don't have to recreate the wheel. I can lean on the technology and the artwork in my GraphicsFlow account. And if I have Smart Designer and CorelDRAW, then I can really, I mean, I can have a front office person do the customization. We don't need an artist to do that. Anybody can do that. So a graphics capability is going to be the center point around my competitive advantage in my business. I'm going to out graphics people. Production equipment that facilitates small orders, personalization, and sampling. Let's break that down a little bit. And let's use it in the context of somebody that's a screen printer, okay? So somebody that's a screen printer, they have to do color separations, output film, and burn screens in order to create a sample. In order to justify the setup expense for a small order, they have to have enough order quantity to justify that expense. So doing, sixes, even 12s, is not financially viable for them because of the setup charges. With one color, it's not as bad, but they're not going to be, they're not going to be as competitive as say somebody that has a vinyl cutter that could just load some film in a machine and do a one color design, boom, have a nice day. So where the screen printing is going to be better, obviously, is bigger orders, and then into that 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 color, and then the real multicolor artwork. That's where the screen printer is going to be really good. But they have to have larger order quantities, and they have an advantage over you, which is at big order quantities, their cost per print is really, really low. Okay, so having production equipment like a sublimation printer or an embroidery machine or a vinyl cutter or a white toner laser printer that can do one-offs is a huge advantage for you because of three things. Number one, you can do print on demand. So you can set up a website and you can purely produce the shirts or the products as the orders come in. The customer doesn't have to order anything in advance. They don't have an inventory tied up. That's very appealing to them. And that's your value proposition when you pitch them on doing a store for them. Okay. So having the ability to do these small runs is, print on demand is huge. Also, sampling. You hear me say that over and over again. Whether it's a physical sample or a virtual sample, being able to lay a sample on somebody in an email, maybe using your GraphicsFlow art portal functionality, or a physical sample that you drop on somebody, that's magic, man. That's, we used to call that the puppy dog close. You end up coming home from the pet store with this dog because somebody put this dog in your lap and it licked your face. It's the same thing with merch. You give somebody a cool baseball cap or give them a cool shirt with their logo on it, and they're like, hey, where can I get more of these? I'm your person. Right here. Me, right here. We can do that. We can even set up a little store for you. Personalization, that's the other part of have a print on design. It costs you the same to make the same design 100 times versus 100 different variations, like player names and numbers, things like that, staffing shirts. So having production equipment that facilitates doing personalization, sampling, and then small print on demand orders is a huge advantage for you, because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to outsource everything else. I'm not going to screen print. I'm going to outsource the screen printing. If you guys already have screen printing business, cool. You have that capability. You know how to do it. You're trained on it. You know how to do it. I'm not going to do it. Am I going to buy a direct to garment printer? Not right now. Maybe in the future if I was doing this. But right now, I'm going to order in direct to film transfers. Direct to film transfer prints just as well as a DTG print. They're inexpensive. I can order, 10 at a time if I'm ordering from Supercolor. They look great. They wash great. They can go on 100% poly, 50-50 blends, 100% cotton, hoodies, hats, doesn't matter. So I'm going to be ordering in, and outsourcing the things that I can't do internally. And I'm going to be doing a lot of heat transfers on my full color stuff. One of the things I'm struggling with right now is, I got my vinyl cutter, and I'm not as excited about my vinyl cutter as I was before direct to film came out. Direct to film transfers came out, and all of a sudden it's like, man, I could just order, from Supercolor, and it's a 10-piece minimum, and then have a pair of scissors and, just trim them up. That's fine for the multicolor stuff, but still for simple one color stuff, I think a vinyl cutter is great. Reliable supply chain that enables us to respond quickly to orders. That was written last year when I updated this. That's not the case these days. We do not have a reliable supply chain. And so what that amounts to now, we have to make adjustments in there, is we have to have more lead time. If you are working with your customers, you can't let them come to you and say, hey, listen, we have this event next week. I know I waited too long to order we can't do that. We won't be able to get the blanks. Maybe it's a 1,000-piece order and they're black t-shirts. Guess what? You're not going to get any XLs or double X's right now, period. Doesn't matter who you call. So navy blue, same thing. Oxford gray, same thing. So now all of a sudden you have to do some planning, and getting the artwork out of the way up front is a critically important part of doing that. So, we have to make an adjustments here. Wide variety of production process, both in-house and outsourced. I'm not going to say no. If somebody needs banners, I can get banners produced and drop shipped right directly to the customer. I don't have to print them. If somebody needs laser engraved awards, I have sources for that. If you are a subscriber to ASI or Sage, you have tens of thousands of vendors that can do that work for you. And you're just going to mark it up and collect a check. And so I'm going to make sure I have a good network of both in-house and outsourced decorating capability, competitive pricing that meets the market conditions. I'm not going to be the cheapest. I'm not going to be the most expensive, but I'm going to be competitive, and I'm going to do some market research and figure out what other people in my community are selling. I'm going to go to their websites. I talked to my customer Michael yesterday, and he was saying, they go up on custom ink, and I just make sure that I'm XYZ percentage below custom ink, which is not hard because custom ink is very, very expensive, especially on small order quantities. Okay. So I am going to make sure that I have competitive pricing. I'm not going to be the most expensive. I'm not going to be the cheapest. If somebody wants the cheapest, then they can find another vendor. Um, Quality product that we stand behind. So, always having that, when you're selecting blanks, when you're selecting, the things that you're going to sell, and bear in mind, we don't have as much latitude as we did a year ago in terms of blanks, but I want to sell quality. If I'm not going to put junk into the marketplace, so I'm not going to buy some cheesy 90-cent t-shirt from Alibaba that you can, basically see through, and so I can have some cheap price and sell shirts for $3 a piece. That's not going to be my mode. I'm going to use, if I'm using, I'm going to use a standard golden, 5.8 ounce shirt or something in that range. I'm not going to, be the low price, low quality leader. That's just not where I'm at. That might be different for you, and in certain instances in market conditions, you're in Brooklyn, New York. I had a customer of mine that's in Brooklyn, and he was just like, yeah, dude, people are crazy cheap. They don't care. They just want the cheapest thing out there. And, I can put a t-shirt out there and you can, blow air through it and they'd be happy as long as it's $3, right? That you might have market conditions that are like that. But I've personally found that if you give your customers choices and say good, better, best, a lot of times they'll either go with, good or better or best. Good isn't always so good, especially when you can show them the differences. Um, and just one word to the wise, if you've been on webcasts recently, one of the things that I talk about is when you're working with your customers and they're trying to select the raw materials that they're printing on, you don't, at this point in time, you don't want to quote brands. You want to quote price points. And you want the price point. We have a economy t-shirt, we have a middle range t-shirt, and then we have a premium quality t-shirt. You don't have to tell them what brands they are. You guys all know what those brands are. And if you're in Gildan, you can do a 2000 series or a 5000 series. They all have different quality levels. And whether it's headwear or Richardson's not going to be for everybody. So being able to quote them in kind of a price point, a price range versus specific manufacturers is really, really smart right now, because you need to have those flexibility, because maybe you can't get it from Sammar's, West Coast, distribution center, but you can get it from their East Coast one, or you have to jump over to S&S for this, or you got to jump over to Alpha for that, or part of your order from Alpha, part of your order from S&S. So, don't be quoting specific brands right now. I think it's a very generally bad idea, and I think most of you guys have figured that out. So hopefully, but also I want to be embedded in our local community. So I'm going to join the Chamber of Commerce. I'm going to be an active member of our community. My wife's she's on the National Board of National Charity League. She never lets me use her connections. I wish I could. But civic organizations that you're involved in, church groups that you're involved in, be a part of your community. One of the best sources of leads that you can have for your business is what you wear. And when you're wearing your own merch out in public, and especially if it's cool, people will ask you where you got it. And you need to be like Johnny on the spot, like a ninja. Whip that business card out, send them to your website and say, hey, this is what we do. Go to my website. I'm more than happy to put something together for you. Here, what's your phone number? Here, let me send you a quick little text here. Now you got their text, you put them in your contacts, and you got a lead to follow up. That's what I would do is I'd text them my art portal right there on the spot, and we'll get to that in a second. So, competitive advantage, marketing goals, social media, email, and e-commerce. We did classes on social media. If you are that person that you're saying, I don't believe in Facebook and I don't believe in Instagram, that's fine. For your personal habits, if you don't want to do Facebook and Instagram, totally fine. But let me tell you, for business development, it is a critical, critical, critical part of running your business. It's critical, it's essential. This and the younger age groups, people under, let's say, 35, that were that grew up around, my kids grew up with MySpace. That's what all went crazy with MySpace, is when social media blew up, right? And now obviously the younger people, they're doing TikTok and they're doing Instagram, they're doing Snapchat. My kids are addicted to Snapchats. I get Snapchats all day long. That's how I keep tabs on my children. My daughters, they're in their 20s. So this is how you communicate with your customers. This is how this becomes your virtual showroom. And let me give you an example, because I have some visuals for this section. Here are some Instagram accounts for a couple of our customers. This customer of ours has a lifestyle brand that they developed. Look at how cool this artwork. This is all original stuff, all original drawings. Isn't that cool? And so they created this cool little lifestyle brand, and then this is their Instagram. She's been busy. She's got a bunch of new stuff on here. And what a great advertisement for a business, right? Absolutely awesome. Great Instagram. Here's another one of our clients. These guys kind of specialized in the whole kind of, fitness, first responder. It's pretty macho type, male oriented type stuff. I don't think I see anything on here that's female oriented, but fire and police is like a big part of their world, right? But what a great showcase of their work. I mean, it's wonderful, and people can really see what they do. And these guys have a pretty good following. Look at 15,500 people. So anytime they, post something, let's see how they do, how their hashtag game looks. Yeah, so they got a good hashtag game. So we go over here I'll copy them into our chat link, and you can copy out their hashtags. They have a good, and look at some nice little bio information. They obviously have somebody that stays on top of this, which is quite smart. So I'll put this in the chat. That's a good one. I'll put both of these in the chat if you're on the live. If you're not on the live, you can pause the screen and swoop the URL. So, if you come to me and you say, hey, I don't do social media, I'm like, well, how people are going to find you, right? So that's a tricky one. So let's do this. Let's just pick a random city in Wisconsin, and I'm going to type in embroidery, Medford, Wisconsin, which is where my cousin lives. And I'm going to go in here and look who comes up first. My cousin's business, In Stitches and Ink. Boom. And I actually know that's actually a customer of mine too. Don't tell my cousin. Actually, these guys are too. We own Medford, Wisconsin, apparently. But this is my cousin's store. But look at, she only has 4 reviews. Okay. So, and they're good. She's got 4-star reviews. That's great. So what you all need to do, you all need to get listed on Google. And it's not hard to get your business listed on Google. And you need to beg, borrow, and plead to get your customers to give you great reviews on Google, because that's what steps you up in the search engine optimization. Now, here's Lori's website coming up number 2. Here's Northwoods coming up because of their Facebook page. Let's take a look at their Facebook page, see if it's decent. Yeah, I mean, I got some community action stuff. They got some examples of their work. They haven't posted through April 2018, so I'm going to give them a D minus. But I'll give them a D minus because at least they have a page. Okay, so let's see. Picking on my cousin, if she goes back and watches this, actually it's my 2 cousins. She goes back and watches this, I might be in trouble. Let's see what's going on with her Facebook. I think she was a little bit more active. So I know she has a Facebook page. But look at, I'm not even finding her Facebook page on here. So I have to go to her website and let's see if we go over here. So no links to social media. On here, here's her office, there's her phone number. Oh, link to her Facebook page. But she doesn't even have her Facebook page active. Okay, so I'm gonna have to talk to her about that. So, these are things that you can do that literally cost you no money whatsoever. And you can, go in. So they got a little store going. That's cool. They got a little some stores cooking there. That's good. Not sure whose store platform they're using. That's some good looking merch. She does nice work. Like they do really cute stuff, and they're pretty with it on that kind of stuff. But inexcusable that somebody can't find you on Facebook. And it is great that people can find her natively in, through just an organic Google search. But you know, how to list your business on Google. There's tons and tons of details on how to do that and how to claim your business profile on Google. There's a little article on that. So that's if somebody else say that business profile got organically created by Google, you can go and claim it and then update it. There's all kinds of data on getting your business listed with Google. So, I would absolutely do that, and I would recommend that all of you do that. And that is something that literally take you an hour. It will make a massive difference. And I have a I have a client of mine, and I thought this was interesting. What he did, he had a fairly significant number of businesses within radius of his community that went out of business, and he went and purchased the phone numbers for all these guys. So he purchased the phone numbers for all these businesses that went out and has them redirect to his main business. He says the phone rings off the hook. So there's another one for you. So getting that social media, get going. People always ask me, hey, what's the first thing you would do if you're starting an apparel decoration business? And I'm gonna tell you right now, the first thing, and I got to ask this question yesterday, Mike, you asked me how important is Inksoft, how important is e-commerce? Then I'm going to tell you right now, it's the first thing I'm going to invest in. And the reason I'm going to invest in e-commerce with Inksoft is not because they bought my company and my paycheck comes from Inksoft bank account. It's because it is the benchmark for e-commerce. They have done all the work. I can plug in, instantly have e-commerce, instantly have web stores. It's very affordable. It's scalable. They know what they're doing. They have wonderful people that work for them. I work with the Inksoft account managers every single day. I know what kind of job they do taking care of our customers, and I want to have the cream of the crop in e-commerce. I don't want to mess around with Shopify. I'm not messing around with Square, GoDaddy. Those are, stepping stones, obviously. And I'm getting an e-commerce store set up with Inksoft. And the reason I'm going to do that is I am going to dominate my competition as best I can by controlling them with stores. And I am going to have stores, and more stores. And my customers, when they want to purchase, they are going to go to my Inksoft store and they are going to buy, and then I am going to drop ship to their end users, and then I am going to send them a check once a month. I want to get as many print-on-demand stores as I possibly can get set up. And Mark Heiss over here, he even has his own little bookmark over here. he'll set up stores for people and he'll sell merch. He'll put merch that's not even part of stuff that he's making. He'll like, I don't think this calendar, maybe he drop ships that. Yeah, he probably makes all this stuff. But you control a customer with a store, and you've given them no reason to go anywhere else. And especially if you're doing a print on demand. So I'm gonna focus my business around print on demand. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I know that it's gonna be very attractive to the buyer to buy from me because they don't have to stock anything. And I will still do stocking orders. If they want to do a program for their people, I will run a store for 30 days and say, or 3 weeks and say, hey, place your orders here. Here's the price. At the end of the order period, I'll collate all the orders. And if that customer wants to pay a wholesale price, then all I'm going to do is just drop ship to them, right directly to one place, and they're going to pay a wholesale price. I'm happy to do that for them. But the other thing that I would do is I'd have a print on demand store. Mark does all of these with print on demand. He has a direct to film printer. Somebody goes and places an order. He doesn't care what color they put it on. He has a direct to film printer. He is going to go and print that transfer. He probably has already a few in back stock, and he is going to slap it on a shirt, put it in an envelope, in his little laundry basket. He's gonna, or laundry, not laundry cart, but grocery cart. He's gonna roll across the street to the post office twice a day, drop off all these little packages, and you know what? They're getting a percentage, and the percentage they get is going to be based on what the retail price is. So right here, they wanted to have a really affordable retail price. And so they used a kind of a classic 50-50 sweatshirt, kind of a cheap sweatshirt, probably around $10 sweatshirt. And he's got $1 worth of transfers on that. And maybe he's paying them 20 or 30%. So he's pocketing $7-8 a shirt out of this. And they're getting a check once a month. And they're not having to stock anything. And they can offer a wider variety of graphics and a huge range of colors. And Mark orders from Sanmar. He stocks things that are common, and he orders from Sanmar twice a week. That's it. That's how he runs his business. That's how I'm going to run it. I'm going to be on the phone with Mark a whole bunch if I was doing this. I'll have him on as a guest speaker again. You guys seem to really enjoy it last time I had Mark on. But I can tell you right now, stores are going to be a huge part of my business plan for my business. Huge part, because I want to tie my customers up with stores. I want to make it easy for people to purchase from me. Period. End of story. So I'm going to create some demo stores to market my business. So even if I don't have real operational working stores, I'm going to create a demo store to show people what my capabilities are. So I create a demo store. I'll show you what a demo store looks like real quick. Here's a really nice little demo store we set up. Okay, Inksoft, demo stores. This one happens to have Art Portal in it, so this is a cool little demo store. And we get leads from this all the time. People go into the little Art Portal on this demo store and they submit graphics, or I had one today where the guy just used the contact form. It was too funny. So this is Art Portal. This is the GraphicsFlow Art Portal. It's embedded into a store. I'm going to use this as two things. I'm going to send my customers over here to pick out their graphics so I don't have to be forensically reconstructing things that came in through custom ink. And then the other thing I'm going to use this for lead gen. If somebody goes in here and clicks, this is funny. Love this graphic. Can you change this to Central 2022, right? So I'm going to add that. Then I'm going to submit it, and then JP is going to get this because he's got right to JP. So he's going to now know what I did, but this is going into JP's email box. It's going into his GraphicsFlow account. It's going to show up as a art request, and he's got a lead and he's got a reason now to talk to that customer. That came into his GraphicsFlow account. It came in. I'm not in his account. I actually have his password. Came into the account right here. Here's the little order. Came in. It says okay. Shannon wants to have me change this to Teamsters Local 242. I'm going to send her a quick email saying, hey, Shannon, we got our request. Do you know how many you need and what you want to put it on? We have a special going on right now on Oxford 50/50 Oxford t-shirts. Something that we know that we have in stock or that we can easily get. And then I'm going to download this into my Smart Designer software, and I'm going to make the changes real quick. And then I'm going to bounce it back to Shannon actually we'll do a different one because one I've already done this with. But we can still name drop this one if we want to. And I'm going to bounce it back as an art request. So I'm just going to go over here, and then we're going to say, what is it? Yeah, Teamsters Local 242, boom. Save it out and import it into an art approval, and boom, bounce it back to the customer. Sign off. Here's a different one I did earlier today. Bounce it back to the customer. Just add them onto the art approval. Just go and add them. Boom, add them. They get the little email saying, hey, here's your design. Sign off on it. Hit approve. I'm going to take them off of this because if I don't do that, Shannon's going to get an email when I do this. So customer gets it, puts a description in there for what they want to change, sign off and approve. I think this one's already approved. Yeah, there you go. Now it's approved. Boom, done. So I just basically used my art portal as a tool to do two things: send my customer to the art portal to pick out their graphics. I'm already working with them, and as a reason to talk to somebody about becoming a potential customer. How cool is that? And you guys have done an amazing job so far in terms of integrating your art portals into your website. Some of you have done some really cool creative things. This is one of the better ones that I saw, which is Christina Mogg, and she did hers is really very attractive. There you go. Boom, Design Studio right there. Make it easy for your customers to purchase from you. Um, that's such an important part because as consumer habits have shifted so much, people are so much more comfortable buying online. You have to make it easy for people to buy from you. You have to. And the other thing is you don't want to have to be doing all that jumping through hoops, resuscitating artwork that they find online. In fact, we don't want them going online looking for artwork. We want to keep them in our house looking for artwork because number one, we don't have to recreate it. We're just modifying it. And number two, they can't trip over another vendor. We're just making it convenient for people. So if you're not already using a bulk emailing campaign to stay in touch with your customer, one I would recommend Mailchimp. It's easy. You can get a free account. I think you can have up to 2,000 records in a free Mailchimp account. It's got a little bit of Mailchimp propaganda on it when you send those out. Super easy to use. Zip past all the spam filters too because they're all whitelisted. You should be staying in touch with your customers, letting them know your business is active. If you have specials, showing them, sending them a link to your art portal saying, hey, check out our new art portal, have some fun, submit some designs. We'd be happy to mock something up for you. And then I'm going to do a sampling campaign. So the people that I'm going to make a list of 20 businesses or entities in my community, and I have to put together samples anyways, and I'm going to do a sampling campaign. I'm going to actually physically order the blanks, physically produce the samples. I'm going to take photography of these samples. I'm going to put these samples on my Instagram account. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to land these samples. I'm going to get on the horn and I'm going to find out who the buyers and the purchasing decision makers for these organizations are. And I'm going to mail them a sample or drop one off and saying, hey, this is the quality of my work. And if I get 2 deals out of it, I'm thrilled. If I get 1 deal out of 20 of them, I'm thrilled. 2 would be amazing. 3 would be knock it out of the park. Sampling campaigns are really super effective. It's one of the best usages of your time. It does not take much money to do it. If you have a laser engraver, you can do it. If you have a DTG printer, white toner printer, vinyl cutter, embroidery machine, sampling campaign, absolutely do a sampling campaign. And of course, I'm going to integrate the GraphicsFlow art portal into my social media campaigns and websites. Art portal is going to be on every email I send out. It's going to have a little tag at the bottom of my email. Hey, check out our art portal. It's going to be built into my website. What if you don't have an Inksoft website? What if you don't have one of these fancy websites? Then get yourself a rudimentary GoDaddy account, or you could do a Shopify account or a Square account. But you guys have to have a website. You have to. It does not have to be awesome, but it is. If you're working with ASI, get your ASI website set up. If you're working with Sage, get your Sage website set up. But you have to have a website, because it's your business card now. Your website is absolutely positively your business card. So there you go. That's kind of the word to the wise. Hey, Mark, do you want to come on real quick and say a few words? I see you're on there. I'm more than happy to do that. So, that's it. It's planning. So, even if you just go and steal this document from me, here, let's see if I can turn you on, your mic on. Let's see if it'll let me do it. Um, let's see. I know how to do this. I used to know how to do this. Okay. Okay, it says your mic's on. You there?
I am, and I'm hurt because it used to be that I could just click it and unmute myself.
Yeah, when I send you out, set you up as a co-presenter, I can do that. So how are you doing, man? You staying busy?
Oh man, this is the first week I've had to breathe. Yeah, we're staying really busy. We're just I'm literally printing eight hours a day on the DTF printer.
So
Shipping stuff out.
print on demand has become your groove, huh?
It has completely become my groove. Well, that and selling the transfers.
Dang. So
And I
tell
I,
go
I
ahead.
had to make a snarky comment. Friends don't let friends weed vinyl, man, and especially if you're doing a name drop, so much easier.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's what I kind of cringe a little bit now that I got my vinyl cutter. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to have to be doing all this weeding. I'm gonna show I'm gonna go to your kind of your main store here, and I want you to talk a little bit about, the role of the main store versus having, sub stores. We've talked about this before. This is your business card, right? Is that how you're utilized? Because you're not expecting to have sales volume coming off your main store, right?
Right. Yeah. No. This is my um, main store, and it's there to tell a story, and it's there to generate business. We do though, because we have the retail shop. One of the things that we've done. Go and scroll back up if you don't mind. And this is a really
Yeah.
good hint for people who are doing a retail shop. If you click on home for a second, what
Hmm.
we found are customers walking in saying, I'd really like this design on this color, or I'd like this on a lady's shirt, or something like that. And we've only got 600 square feet in our retail shop. So if you scroll down a little bit, we have the section that said you asked for it. And so somebody
Ah,
comes in. The really great thing about Ink Stuff, somebody comes in and they say, hey, you know what? That would look really great, but I want it on a woman's t-shirt or a tank top. So you know what? You give me an hour and I'll have it up for you. And that's the only
nice.
reason it takes me an hour is honestly because I have customers coming and going, so I can't promise it faster. Um,
Actually, that was I like this graphic a lot. That is very
oh, that's
cool.
Morgan. Yeah,
Morgan, man, that girl's got some skills, man. I'm telling you, not too
that is
bad.
that was our hottest seller this year on Comfort Colors 1717s and
Nice.
1604s. Unfortunately, as we all know, supply chains meant that I went through Christmas without any larges.
Mm.
Um, and it killed us. I mean, it really did. But it is what it is. And so, the nice thing about doing print on demand is I can go, as opposed to depending on somebody else to decorate my stuff, is I can go out. First of all, I can multi-source it from anywhere. So I can pick and choose sizes from different vendors.
Yeah, you just
Um,
tell people, hey, you're going to be bulking up for Christmas anyway, so just buy an extra large.
oh no, no, actually, with the hoodies and the crew necks, I say, it's better if you can layer under them anyway.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So yeah, so that's kind of what a reason I want to have Mark on real quick is print on demand. If you have not looked at print on demand in hosting e-commerce stores for your clients, that absolutely should be on your list. And I know it's a little scary. at first, thinking along it, because you're making a kind of a quantum shift from people placing stocking orders to versus setting up a store and having orders come in. But Mark, every customer I've talked to that shifted to print on demand has said their businesses just skyrocketed as a result of that. They actually get more volume and they get more frequent reorders. Have you found that to be the case?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what's really cool with print on demand is I go to my customers that I've created stores for, and I say, let's try this design. Well, I don't know if I really want to do that. And I say, well, all it is pixels. None of this is made. There's no investment except my time. And so let's just go ahead and try it and see if the design sells. And if it doesn't sell, we get rid of it. We take it off. If it does, we go ahead and promote it more. One of the things that I did want to was thinking of when you were talking about having an online store, the number one thing is, it's hard enough to promote yourself and it's costly enough to promote yourself. You just have to have the customers promote their shops.
Yep. Yeah, you're right.
And we require that, and we have some smaller customers, and so we're kind of nice about it. We say, you know what, if you're not doing $100 a month, there's something wrong, and you need to do something before we decide that this isn't working for anybody. Um, and
I
and
think
and make
that's
them promise to promote it.
I think that getting them, the impetus of getting them to do two things, get their Instagram cooking or their Facebook cooking a little bit, do some posting on there, and not all of them have big followings, but also they all have email lists. So if you thought about just drafting up like some emails for them we're actually in the process of doing that, is doing draft emails for you guys to promote your art portal. It's something that we're going to offer the GraphicsFlow members. But have you provided them with like copy and photography and things of that nature for their social media and their email campaigns?
We have, and especially if we're doing an order, if we have one of their customers maybe does 3 or 4 items, one of the things that you can tell that this is a mock-up.
Right.
Um, but if we have a customer of theirs that's going to order 3 or 4 things, we'll put it together and we'll do a quick snapshot and we'll send it out to them so that they can use it to help promote their stuff.
Or yeah, put a kid on it and do an Instagram post with a live shot. I mean,
Yep.
oh, these are cool. Oh, these are real cool. So yeah, so I just wanted to have you on real quick and just say hi. I know you and I have a call scheduled for after class today, so we'll talk to you in a little bit. But yeah, print on demand. That's going to be e-commerce stores, and print on demand are going to be two very, very, very high on my list for launching a business. And if you guys aren't already doing that, it's something you absolutely should plan on. So Mark, I'm going to go ahead and mute you, and then I'm going to stop the recorded portion of the webcast, and then we are going to open it up for Q&A.